Hi, you've reached Charisma at Charisma's Corner, and today I wanted to do a little quilting video. I know that most of my videos have been centered around embroidery so far, but I'm actually a long arm quilter by trade, and my studio is a complete wreck, but I just wanted to get a video done, so here we go. I have been showing a lot of videos on the embroidery and the wool penny projects, and this is one of my first ones. And I wanted to show the quilting design that I had made around this edge here because it was just so dynamic and people have asked about it. So I thought I would do that. You can actually see it on the back as well, maybe a little bit better. But when it's hanging, it looks really nice and it's very easy to complete. So I have my next wool confetti project done, and I've already pre-marked it for you, and this is very, very easy. All I did was measured out 2 inches, and I did my blue marking pen. It's just a blue pen that I get at Walmart for a couple of dollars, and you spritz it off with water. So I went through and I marked a 2-inch square or 2-inch border around my whole piece. And then I marked 2-inch corners in each corner there. And you can see this is the finished corner here of what I'm going to do in every single corner. And then when you go through and mark your squares, which this, I didn't do perfect math when I put the border on this, and because I didn't really know how I was going to quilt it, but I decided to go ahead and do this design. So if I would have been planning ahead, I could have done perfect math to get that. But I had to wiggle in about 1/4 of an inch on some of my blocks. So if you looked really closely, you would see that some of these middle blocks aren't exactly the same size, but it doesn't matter because they're not going to be blocks when they're quilted. We really just wanted these blocks to be our reference points. And then I marked the diagonal on each one because really what's going to happen is that this is going to become my design element. And so I just kind of gave myself a little reference point that this is going to be filled in with a filler. And then I'm going to do my little design in here. So I'm going to show you how I do that. I have my ruler plate on here, because you have to have a ruler plate anytime you do any straight lines. So my ruler plate is interfering with my bar here, so I can only go down so far. Again, I'm not going to pay attention to that straight line that I've marked. I'm only marking the diagonal lines. Now you can choose to mark this. This is a small piece, so you can choose to mark it before you put it on the frame, or you can mark it while it's on the frame. Since I was trying to figure out everything ahead of time, I just went ahead and marked it ahead of time. And sometimes it breaks up the monotony of my everyday work to take a break and mark a quilt while I'm quilting other quilts. So you can see my diamonds are starting to come together. And I'm just going to mark my cornerstone right now. Which will lead me to the next zigzag. Now typically I don't use a high contrast thread on the top of a quilt because you can see every single mistake. I try to blend in the thread, and I would have typically used a gray thread on this because it's a gray background, but I wanted you to be able to see the design, and it's for a friend who isn't going to look at every single mistake or flub that there is. So now that I have my diamonds, I'm going to go in with my continuous curve and I'm going to fill the inside of those in. It's just a half circle bump around every edge. I do this on lots of designs. And then I'm going to go in and put a little swirl in the center of each one. I also want to make note that I'm using 2 layers of batting, because there's a significant difference when you use 2 layers of batting, where the quilting kind of gives it dimension. There's no wrinkles or puffy places when you're done, but it just makes everything sit really nice. And this is a wall hanging, so I want it to be a little bit stiffer, and I'm adding a lot of stitches to that. So I'm going to go in and do the same thing here that I did here, and then I'll show you how another element to the quilting. Now I'm going to go in and fill all of this with pebbling, all of those squares there, but I wanted the border to have a distinct area different than the pebbling. So I went through and did an outline around the diamonds on this side just to give it a little bit more. So I'll show you how I did that. So I just want to go 1/4 of an inch, which my foot automatically is 1/4 of an inch from the ruler. So I just have to line my ruler up on my stitch mark, and I'm going to get a perfect 1/4 of an inch. You can see where my foot ends here is a perfect 1/4 of an inch. So I just have to move my ruler . And any mistakes that you make, like I have that little stitch right there, it's going to be covered when I go in and do the pebbling. So I'm not going to panic about it. Pebbling covers a lot of things. just gonna take that out. So then I'll show you how I go here. I'm just gonna put a box in here, which is, again, using my 1/4 inch foot to my advantage. I'm just gonna go around here. And I just wanted this to be distinctive from the rest of it because we're using this as our cornerstone to kind of solidify this border. And then I just do a free-form swirl in the center of it. Oops. And now I'm just now I am ready to just do all of the fill-in pebbling work that you see here. So I'm going to do all exactly the same thing. That's exactly how I completed this border. So I'll just fill in a little bit of pebbles so you can see how I do the pebbles, and then we can So thank you for joining me at Charisma's Corner today. I hope that you learned something, and I plan to do more videos to show my different tips and techniques for long arm quilting. Thanks for joining me.